through not being good at things, but still pursuing them, we discover something I think is terribly important. We open ourselves up to what psychologists sometimes call the flow, that feeling of complete absorption in an activity outside ourselves. And that's rewarding. That's a kind of cognitive opiate, even if we never get to the Hendrix level.
The real work is it's a magician's term, isn't it? What does it mean?
Yeah, it's the term magicians use to when they admire someone, not just for being proficient at a trick or an illusion, but someone who has somehow combined absolute technical virtuosity in a trick with a kind of empathetic engagement with the audience, who can really deliver it. And it's what fascinates me, and where the mystery of mastery, as I see it, is how is it not just that we get good at something, but how we're able to take what we're good at and make it something that is unforgettably our own, idiosyncratically, even eccentrically ours. You mentioned Jimi Hendrix a moment ago. I was in Seattle at the Jimi Hendrix Museum just last week. And what's fascinating about Hendrix is he was a fabulous guitarist as a blues guitarist, and then he discovered the power of distortion, power of what happens when you get an amplifier going the wrong way, which nobody had ever thought would be musical. And that was what made Jimi Hendrix, that combination of technical proficiency with a completely new and unexpected kind of human noise.
So is the argument there that we can all be good, but only few of us can be great?
Yes, and I think that's true. And I think it's one of the things that distinguishes the people we think are great from those we think are good. In the book, I'm just trying to pursue things that I will never be good at. I mean, it's a series of essays on the comedy of inadequacy, my own. But through not being good at things, but still pursuing them, we discover something I think is terribly important. We open ourselves up to what psychologists sometimes call the flow, that feeling of complete absorption in an activity outside ourselves. And that's rewarding. That's a kind of cognitive opiate, even if we never get to the Hendrix level.
But can we get flow when we're not good? Because I actually think that what thing would stop me getting the flow would be that I'm not very good at something. Because I don't like computer games. I don't want to be bad at something for a long time until I get good.
That's what this book is mostly about. You know, it's about me setting out to do things that I am not good at, like learning to draw, right? I was an art critic for almost 40 years, and I couldn't draw a blade of grass. But I wanted to, and getting a wonderful, strange, eccentric teacher.
Very strange.
Yeah, very strange and eccentric teacher. And that's what this book is about in lots of ways. It's about the joy of crazy teachers, you know, the kind of the centaurs who enter our lives and instruct us. Through that, just by sheer perseverance in very kind of counterintuitive acts, you don't learn to draw by opening your eyes and copying what you see. You learn all kinds of little tricks and subroutines. And then suddenly, magically, if you persevere, they begin to come together in this illusion, at least, of a seamless whole. And that's the reward. That's when the flow opens up.
So you feel that you can be, I mean, the book proves you can be taught to draw.
Yes, absolutely. Not well. I can be taught to box. I can't be taught to box in a way that would enable me to go into a ring and defeat anyone except another middle-aged, short Jewish intellectual. That I could probably knock him around. Yeah. But apart from that, but the satisfaction I get from boxing is immense, and in a weird way greater than the satisfaction I get from something I actually do very well, like write.
So do you buy the argument then? This is the 5,000 hours or whatever that argument is.
10. My friend Malcolm has 10, unless he sold it at a discount.
I'm sure maybe the second book's come out and it's now only 5 for this era of poor concentration. Exactly. It's now 5,000. Do you buy the sort of 10,000 hours then, that you need genius plus 10,000 hours gets you something?
Well, it's kind of fatuously obvious. You need some talent and perseverance to get somewhere. I would add to that notion that there are a lot of people who pursue things for 10,000 hours who don't get anywhere. You know, there was another band playing alongside the Beatles in Hamburg who played 10,000 hours and we never hear about. But what I'd add is the 10,000 hours are satisfying in themselves, even if one never becomes the Beatles. And you can simultaneously say there is such a thing as unique talent in the world, self-evidently, and say that the pursuit of things we may not ever be perfect at is in itself a wonderful thing. Accomplishment is the foundation from which we build ourselves. I really do believe that.
And the idea of the journey is really important. Now, before you go, Adam, do you want to do a mea culpa for creating Donald Trump?
Oh, yes. When in my misspent youth, I was the literary editor of GQ magazine in America, if you can imagine there was such a role, but there was. And we put Donald Trump on the cover in 1984 when he was an up-and-coming kind of clownish real estate man, because he seemed to represent everything that was frivolous and, God help me, fun about that whole kind of greed is good era in American life. And you look back on it now and you cover your eyes with your hand and you say, oh my God, was that ever a bad guess, a bad gamble?
Look where it's led us. We'll blame you for that then.